Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Voyager, watching the stars drift past through the main viewing screen. The ship had been traveling through space for 3 weeks now, heading toward a small moon that their sensors had picked up strange readings from. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and green eyes, and he had been commanding starships for almost 10 years. He loved his job, but sometimes the long trips between planets made him feel restless. "Captain, we're getting close to the target location," said Lisa Carter from her position at the navigation controls. Lisa was the ship's navigator, a smart woman with blonde hair who had been working with Jake for 5 years. She was good at her job and never made mistakes with the ship's course. Jake nodded and walked over to look at her screen. The moon they were approaching looked gray and empty, but their instruments were showing energy readings that didn't make sense. Something was down there that shouldn't be there. "Tony, what do you think about these readings?" Jake asked the ship's chief engineer. Tony Rodriguez was a short, stocky man with black hair who knew everything there was to know about how spaceships work. He was sitting at his engineering station, frowning at the data coming in from their sensors. "It's weird, Captain," Tony said, shaking his head. "The energy patterns look like they're coming from some kind of advanced technology, but there's no record of anyone ever building anything on this moon. It's supposed to be completely empty." Dr. Amanda Foster looked up from her medical station. She was the ship's doctor, a woman in her 40s with red hair who took care of everyone's health. "Could it be dangerous?" she asked. "Maybe we should report this back to Earth Command before we get too close." Jake thought about this for a moment. Earth Command had sent them out here to explore and investigate anything unusual they found. If they ran back to report every strange reading, they would never get anything done. But Amanda was right to be careful. Space was full of dangers that could kill a crew in seconds. "Let's take a closer look first," Jake decided. "If it seems too dangerous, we can always leave and call for backup." The Voyager moved closer to the moon's surface. As they got nearer, their sensors started picking up more details. Whatever was down there was big, and it was definitely not natural. The energy readings were getting stronger, and now they could see that something had crashed into the rocky ground. "Captain, I'm seeing what looks like a spaceship," Lisa said, her voice getting excited. "It's partially buried in a crater, but the whole design is completely different from anything in our databases." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. Finding alien technology was every explorer's dream. In all of humanity's travels through space, they had found evidence that other intelligent species existed, but they had never actually met any of them face to face. "Can you tell if anyone's alive down there?" he asked Amanda. The doctor worked at her sensors for several minutes. "I'm detecting one very weak life sign," she said finally. "Whatever species it is, they're badly hurt and probably dying." Jake made his decision quickly. "Tony, prepare the shuttle. Lisa, find us a safe landing spot near that crash site. Amanda, get your medical kit ready. We're going down there." "Captain, are you sure about this?" Amanda asked. "We don't know anything about alien biology. I might not be able to help whoever's down there. We have to try," Jake said firmly. "If someone's dying, we can't just leave them there." 20 minutes later, Jake, Lisa, and Amanda were sitting in the small shuttlecraft, flying down toward the moon's surface. The crashed alien ship was easy to spot from the air. It was about the same size as the Voyager, but its shape was completely different. Instead of the boxy, practical design of human ships, this one was smooth and curved, almost like it had been grown instead of built. The hull was torn open in several places, and scorch marks showed where weapons had hit it. Whatever had happened to this ship, it hadn't been an accident. Jake landed the shuttle about 50 meters away from the wreck. The moon had a thin atmosphere that humans could breathe, but it was cold, and the air smelled strange. The 3 crew members put on their environment suits and walked carefully toward the alien ship. "Look at this," Lisa whispered as they got closer. The metal of the ship's hull was unlike anything they had ever seen. It seemed to shimmer and change color slightly as they moved around it. They found a hole in the side of the ship that was big enough to walk through. Jake went first, holding a light in front of him. The inside of the alien ship was dark and quiet, but their sensors were still picking up that 1 weak life sign. The corridors inside the ship were tall and narrow, designed for beings that were taller and thinner than humans. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly with their own light. Everything about the place felt advanced and mysterious. They followed Amanda's medical scanner deeper into the ship until they reached what looked like the bridge or command center, and they're lying on the floor near what might have been a control panel. They found her. The alien woman was unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. She was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the darkness. Her hair was long and silver, spread out around her head like liquid metal. Her face was beautiful but strange, with large eyes and delicate features that were almost human, but not quite. She was breathing, but just barely. Dark blue blood was pooled around her body, and her skin looked gray and cold. "She's dying," Amanda said after scanning the alien woman with her medical equipment. "She's lost a lot of blood, and her body temperature is dropping fast." As if she heard Amanda's voice, the alien woman's eyes opened. They were large and silver, like mirrors that reflected the light from their equipment. She looked at Jake and the others, and her mouth moved as if she was trying to speak. Lisa quickly pulled out the universal translator that all exploration teams carried. The device was designed to learn new languages and help humans communicate with alien species, though it had never been tested on a real alien before. After a few seconds, the translator began to work. The alien woman's weak voice came through the speakers in broken English. "Please," she whispered, "help me. My name is Lyra. My ship was attacked. I carry important information. My people must know what happened." Jake knelt down beside her. "We want to help you, Lyra. Can you tell us what's wrong? What do you need?" Lyra tried to sit up but was too weak. "Internal bleeding," she said through the translator. "My body is shutting down. Without medical help, I will die within the hour." Amanda was already working with her medical scanner, trying to understand Lyra's alien biology. "Captain, this is beyond anything I've ever dealt with," she said quietly. "Her blood chemistry is completely different from ours. Her organs are in different places. I don't even know where to start." Jake looked down at Lyra's silver eyes. Even though she was alien, he could see the intelligence there and the fear. She was a person just like any human, and she was dying. He couldn't just walk away and let that happen. "There has to be something we can do," he said. Lyra's voice was getting weaker. "The raiders who attacked my ship," she whispered. "They're coming to your space next. Millions will die if they're not stopped. I have the information. Your people need to defend themselves." Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air on the moon. "What raiders? What are you talking about?" But Lyra's eyes were closing again, and her breathing was becoming more shallow. Whatever information, she had whatever threat she was warning them about. It would die with her if they couldn't find a way to save her life. Jake grabbed Amanda's arm. "There has to be something we can do for her. Check your medical supplies again." Amanda shook her head, her face pale with worry. "Captain, I've never seen anything like this. Her blood is completely different from ours. It's blue instead of red, and it carries oxygen in a totally different way. Even if I could stop the bleeding, I don't have any medicine that would work on her body." Jake looked down at Lyra, who was getting weaker by the minute. Her silver eyes were barely open, and her breathing was so shallow he could hardly see her chest moving. Time was running out fast. "What about a blood transfusion?" Jake asked suddenly. "Could we give her some of our blood to help replace what she's lost?" Amanda stared at him. "Captain, that's impossible. Human blood and alien blood can't mix. It would probably kill her faster than doing nothing." But Lyra's eyes opened wider when she heard Jake's words. She struggled to speak through the translator. "Wait," she whispered. "Your blood might work. My people have studied human biology from a distance. There are similarities between us that most species don't have." Amanda frowned. "What kind of similarities?" Lyra coughed, and more blue blood came from her mouth. "Our cells can adapt to foreign proteins better than other species. If your blood has the right properties, my body might be able to use it temporarily, long enough for my natural healing to start working." "Might," Amanda said. "That's not good enough. I can't risk the captain's life on a mite." Jake was already rolling up his sleeve. We're going to try it. She's going to die anyway if we don't do something. Captain! No, Lisa said, grabbing his other arm. We don't know what this could do to you. What if her blood gets into your system? What if you both die? Jake looked at his crew members. They were his friends, and he knew they were scared for him. But he also knew that he couldn't live with himself if he let Lyra die without trying everything possible to save her. I'm the captain, he said firmly. This is my decision. Amanda set up the transfusion equipment. Amanda's hands were shaking as she prepared the medical equipment. She had done hundreds of blood transfusions between humans, but never anything like this. She didn't even know how much blood Lyra would need, or if Jake's body could spare that much. How much blood do you think she needs? Jake asked. Amanda looked at her scanner readings. Based on her size and what I can guess about her blood volume, probably at least 2 liters, maybe more. Jake felt his stomach drop. 2 liters was a dangerous amount of blood for a human to lose. People had died from losing less than that. But Lyra was dying right now, and he was her only chance. Do it, he said. Amanda inserted the needle into Jake's arm and connected it to a tube that would carry his blood to Lyra. The red human blood looked strange flowing through the clear tube. Knowing it was going into an alien body that had never received human blood before. As soon as Jake's blood entered Lyra's system, something unexpected happened. She gasped, and her eyes opened wide. But instead of looking better, she looked like she was in terrible pain. Something's wrong, Amanda said, watching her medical readouts. Her heart rate is going crazy, and her brain activity is spiking. Jake started feeling strange, too. The room seemed to be spinning slightly, and he was getting dizzy from the blood loss. But there was something else happening, something that scared him more than just feeling weak. He was seeing things that weren't there. Images flashed through his mind of places he had never been. He saw a beautiful city with buildings made of crystal and light floating in the sky above a purple ocean. He saw starships that looked like living creatures flying through space faster than anything humans had ever built. Captain, are you all right? Lisa asked, noticing that Jake's eyes had rolled back and he was staring at nothing. I'm seeing her memories, Jake whispered. I can see her world, her people. They're beautiful, but they're in terrible danger. The visions kept coming. Jake saw massive black ships attacking Lyra's crystal city. He felt her fear and pain as she watched her home being destroyed. He experienced her desperate escape in the damaged ship, carrying information that could save not just her people, but countless other worlds. Amanda watched her medical scanners in amazement. Captain, your brain activity is matching hers exactly. Somehow, your minds are connecting through the blood transfusion. Jake could feel Lyra's thoughts mixing with his own. He understood now why she had been so desperate to survive. The raiders she had mentioned weren't just random pirates. They were part of something much bigger and more dangerous. An army of ships that moved from star system to star system, destroying everything in their path. They call themselves the Void Collective, Jake said, speaking Lyra's thoughts out loud. They've already destroyed dozens of civilizations. They're heading toward Earth's sector of space. But sharing the connection was draining both of them. Jake was getting weaker from the blood loss, and he could feel his heart struggling to pump enough blood to keep him conscious. At the same time, Lyra was fighting to stay alive as her body tried to accept the foreign human blood. Captain, I have to stop the transfusion, Amanda said. You're going into shock from blood loss. No, Jake said weakly. She needs more. I can feel it. Her body is starting to accept the blood, but she needs more to survive. If I give her more of your blood, you could die, Amanda said. Jake looked at Lyra, whose silver eyes were fixed on his face. Through their strange connection, he could feel her trying to tell him something important. She was grateful for his sacrifice, but she didn't want him to die to save her. Keep going, Jake said. I can handle it. But as more of his blood flowed into Lyra's body, Jake felt himself getting weaker and weaker. The room was spinning faster now, and he could barely keep his eyes open. He could hear Lisa and Amanda talking, but their voices sounded like they were coming from very far away. Just when Amanda was about to stop the transfusion to save Jake's life, something amazing happened. Lyra's body suddenly surged with energy. Her blue skin began to glow brighter, and her wounds started healing themselves right before their eyes. She sat up quickly and placed her hands on Jake's chest. Immediately, he felt a warm, tingling sensation spreading through his body. The weakness and dizziness started to fade, and his heart began beating normally again. "What's happening?" Amanda asked, staring at her medical readouts in disbelief. Lyra's voice was stronger now as she spoke through the translator. "The blood bond worked better than I hoped. Your captain's life force mixed with mine, and now I can share my healing energy with him." Jake felt amazing, better than he had felt in years. The tiredness and weakness from the blood loss were completely gone, replaced by an energy that seemed to flow through every cell in his body. "How is this possible?" he asked. Lyra smiled, and Jake realized it was the first time he had seen her look happy instead of afraid. "My people have abilities that most species don't understand. We can manipulate energy at the cellular level. By giving me your blood, you created a connection between us that allows me to share some of those abilities with you." Amanda was checking Jake with her medical scanner. "Captain, this is incredible. Your blood pressure is perfect. Your heart rate is ideal, and your blood is regenerating faster than should be possible. It's like your body has been enhanced somehow." Jake looked at his hands. They looked the same as always, but he could feel that something fundamental had changed inside him. He felt stronger, smarter, and more aware of everything around him. "What does this mean?" Lisa asked. Lyra stood up, completely healed from her injuries. "It means that your captain is no longer entirely human. The blood bond has begun changing him into something new, something that my people have never seen before." Jake felt a chill of fear mixed with excitement. He had saved Lyra's life, but in doing so, he had started a transformation that would change his own life forever. Jake stared at Lyra as she stood in the wreckage of her ship, completely healed and glowing with soft blue light. The change in her was incredible. Just minutes ago, she had been dying, and now she looked more alive and powerful than any human he had ever seen. "What do you mean, I'm no longer entirely human?" Jake asked, feeling both scared and curious about what was happening to him. Lyra walked closer to him, her silver eyes studying his face carefully. "The blood bond we just shared is sacred among my people. It has only been done a few times in our history and always between members of our own species. You are the first human to ever experience it." Amanda was still running her medical scanner over Jake, frowning at the readings. "Captain, your DNA is showing changes that shouldn't be possible. Some of your cells are restructuring themselves, and your brain activity is off the charts." Lisa looked worried. "Is this dangerous? Are you going to be okay, Captain?" Jake felt fine, better than fine, actually. He felt like he could run 4 miles without getting tired, or solve complex math problems in his head. But the idea that his body was changing in ways that nobody understood was frightening. "I need to tell you who I really am," Lyra said. "My full name is Princess Lyra Solus of the Celestial Dominion. My people rule over 47 star systems in this sector of the galaxy." The 3 humans stared at her in shock. They had just saved an alien princess, and none of them had any idea how to react to that information. "A princess," Lisa said. "Weekly, we saved an alien princess." Lyra nodded. "My father is Emperor Zephin, ruler of the Celestial Dominion. Our civilization is over 50,000 years old, and we have technology that can seem like magic to younger species." Jake's mind was racing. If Lyra was telling the truth, then they had just made contact with one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. This was the kind of discovery that would change human history forever. "Why were you alone on that ship?" Amanda asked. "Where were your guards or other crew members?" Lyra's expression became sad. "I was carrying out a secret mission for my father. The Void Collective has been attacking worlds throughout our region of space, destroying entire civilizations. We discovered that they are planning to invade the Outer Rim territories next, where your Earth is located." Jake felt a cold fear in his stomach. "How many ships are we talking about?" "Thousands," Lyra said. "Maybe tens of thousands. They have been building their fleet for decades, taking ships and resources from every world they conquer. They are like a plague that spreads from system to system, leaving nothing but empty space behind them." Tony's voice came through their communication devices from the ship above. Captain, I'm picking up some strange readings from the alien ship's computers. It looks like there's still some kind of data storage system working. Lyra's eyes lit up. Yes, the quantum data core. That's what I was carrying when my ship was attacked. It contains the location of every Void collective base we've discovered, along with information about their ship designs and battle tactics. Why? Is this information so important? Jake asked. Lyra began walking toward the part of her ship where the computers were located. Because the Void Collective has never been defeated in battle. They are too strong, too organized, and too ruthless. But my people have been working with other advanced civilizations to create a defense alliance. The information on that data core could help coordinate a multi-species attack that might actually stop them. Jake followed her through the damaged corridors of the alien ship. As they walked, he noticed that he could see better in the darkness than he should have been able to. His eyes seemed to be adjusting to the low light automatically. The blood bond is already starting to enhance your senses, Lyra explained, noticing his improved vision. Among my people, it takes centuries of careful genetic modification to develop these abilities. For you to gain them this quickly is unprecedented. They reached the ship's computer core, which looked like a sphere of crystal surrounded by flowing energy patterns. Even though it was alien technology, Jake found that he could somehow understand how it worked just by looking at it. I can read the data, he said, surprised by his own words. I don't know how, but I can understand what all these symbols mean. Lyra looked amazed. That should be impossible. It takes our children decades to learn how to interface with quantum data systems. Jake placed his hand on the crystal sphere and immediately felt information flowing into his mind. He saw star charts showing the locations of Void collective fleets, technical diagrams of their weapons and ships, and tactical analyses of their attack patterns. They're closer than you think, Jake said, his voice tight with worry. The advanced scouts are already in our region of space. They've been watching Earth for months, studying our defenses. Amanda and Lisa exchanged frightened looks. How long do we have? Amanda asked. Jake continued reading the alien data. According to this, the main invasion fleet will arrive in Earth's solar system in less than 6 months. But there are smaller, attacked groups that will hit our outer colonies first, probably in the next few weeks. Lyra nodded grimly. That matches what our intelligence sources told us. The Void Collective always tests a species' defenses with small attacks before sending in their main force. We have to warn Earth, Lisa said. We have to get this information back to our government immediately. It won't be enough, Lyra said. Your people's technology is not advanced enough to fight the Void Collective alone. Even with warning, Earth's fleets would be destroyed in the first battle. Jake felt a surge of anger. Then what can we do? Just give up and let them destroy our world. Lyra smiled, and Jake could feel her emotions through their strange connection. She wasn't giving up. In fact, she had a plan. We take this data to my home world, she said. My father's been trying to organize the Defense Alliance, but he needed this intelligence to make it work. With Jake's help, we can get the information to the right people and coordinate a response that might actually save both our civilizations. Why do you need Jake's help specifically? Amanda asked. Lyra looked at Jake with something that might have been respect, or maybe something deeper, because the blood bond has made him something unique in the galaxy. He's part human and part celestial now. He can serve as a bridge between our species, helping them understand and trust each other. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Somehow, his decision to save one dying alien woman had put him at the center of a galactic war that would determine the fate of billions of people. There's something else, Lyra said quietly. The blood bond is permanent. It will continue to change you, giving you more and more of our abilities. But it also means that if one of us dies, the other will feel that death as if it were their own. Jake stared at her. You mean we're connected for life? Yes, Lyra said. By saving my life, you have bound your fate to mine. I hope you don't regret that decision. Jake looked around at the destroyed alien ship, thinking about everything that had happened in the last few hours. He had started the day as a simple starship captain on a routine exploration mission. Now he was genetically bonded to an alien princess, carrying information that could save or doom the entire human race. I don't regret it, he said finally. but I think our lives just got a lot more complicated. Lyra smiled. The most important things in life usually are complicated. Now we need to get to my homeworld as quickly as possible. Every day we delay gives the Void Collective more time to prepare their attack. Jake nodded and activated his communicator. Tony, prepare the ship for immediate departure. We're going to need maximum speed for a very long journey. As they prepared to leave the crashed alien ship, Jake couldn't help but wonder what other changes were happening to his body and mind. The blood bond with Lyra had already given him abilities he never imagined possible. But according to her, this was just the beginning of his transformation. Whatever he was becoming, he hoped it would be enough to help save both their worlds from the darkness that was coming. 3 days into their journey toward Lyra's homeworld, Jake was beginning to realize just how much his life had changed. He stood in his quarters aboard the Voyager, looking at himself in the mirror and trying to understand what he was becoming. His reflection looked mostly the same, but there were small differences that grew more noticeable each day. His green eyes now had tiny flecks of silver in them, and his skin seemed to have a very faint glow, especially in dim light. More importantly, his mind felt different. He could think faster, remember more details, and understand complex problems. That would have taken him hours to figure out before. Captain Amanda's voice came through the ship's communication system. Could you come to the medical bay? I want to run some more tests on you. Jake sighed and headed down the corridor. Amanda had been checking on him every few hours since they left the moon, worried about the changes happening to his body. He didn't blame her for being concerned, but the constant medical tests were getting annoying. When he arrived at the medical bay, Amanda was waiting with a worried expression on her face. She had been running tests on blood samples she had taken from him, and the results were clearly bothering her. Sit down, Captain, she said. We need to talk about what's happening to you. Jake sat on the examination table. It's getting worse, isn't it? Not worse exactly, Amanda said carefully, but the changes are happening faster than I expected. Your DNA is continuing to alter itself, and some of your organs are actually changing shape and function. Before Jake could respond, the ship's alarms suddenly started blaring. Lisa's voice came over the communication system, sounding frightened and urgent. Captain, get to the bridge immediately. We have company, and they don't look friendly. Jake ran to the bridge, with Amanda close. Behind him, when he arrived, he saw Tony and Lisa staring at the main viewing screen with expressions of fear and amazement. 3 large, dark ships were approaching the Voyager at high speed. Where did they come from? Jake asked. They just appeared out of nowhere, Tony said. Their technology is way beyond anything I've ever seen. They must have some kind of cloaking device that can hide them from our sensors. Lyra rushed onto the bridge, took one look at the ships on the screen, and turned pale. Void Collective scouts, she said. They must have been tracking the quantum signature from my ship's data core. Jake felt his enhanced senses kicking in automatically. He could somehow perceive details about the enemy ships that shouldn't have been visible on their sensors. The ships were armed with weapons that could destroy the Voyager in seconds, and they were moving in a pattern that suggested they were preparing to attack. How fast can we run? Jake asked Tony. Not fast enough, Tony said grimly. Those ships are at least twice as fast as we are. Then we fight, Jake said, moving toward the captain's chair. Captain, we can't fight those ships, Lisa said. Our weapons are no match for theirs. But as Jake sat down in his chair, something strange happened. He could suddenly sense the Voyager's systems in a way he never had before. It was as if the ship's computers were speaking directly to his mind, showing him information about power levels, weapon systems, and engine performance. Tony, reroute all auxiliary power to the engines and weapons, Jake said, his voice sounding more confident than he felt. Lisa, plot an evasive course that will take us through that asteroid field. Captain, how did you know there was an asteroid field? Lisa asked, looking confused. It's not showing up on our sensors yet. Jake paused, realizing that he had somehow sensed the asteroids before their instruments detected them. His enhanced abilities were growing stronger by the hour. Just trust me, he said. Lyra, can you help Tony boost our weapon power with any of your technology? Lyra nodded and moved to Tony's engineering station. She placed her hands on the control panel, and immediately the ship's energy readings spiked upward. How is she doing that? Tony asked in amazement. My people can interface directly with quantum energy systems, Lyra explained. I'm channeling additional power from the ship's core into your weapons and shields. The Void Collective ships opened fire, sending beams of dark energy toward the Voyager. Jake found that he could predict where the shots would hit before they arrived, allowing Lisa to steer the ship out of danger at the last second. How are you doing that? Lisa asked as she followed Jake's instructions to dodge another attack. I don't know, Jake admitted. I can somehow see their attack patterns before they complete them. The Voyager entered the asteroid field, weaving between the floating rocks at dangerous speeds. The pursuing ships followed, but Jake realized that his enhanced perception was giving him an advantage. He could sense the movement of every asteroid, predict which ones would collide with each other, and find paths through the field that would be impossible for normal human reflexes to navigate. Take us between those two large asteroids, Jake told Lisa, pointing at rocks that looked too close together for the ship to fit between. Captain, that gap is too narrow, Lisa protested. Trust me, Jake said. As they approached the asteroids, he could sense that they were slowly moving apart due to gravitational forces. The gap would be just wide enough for the Voyager to pass through, but too narrow for the larger Void Collective ships. The plan worked perfectly. The Voyager slipped between the asteroids just as they reached their maximum separation, while the enemy ships had to go around, losing valuable time and distance. But the victory was temporary. The Void Collective ships were still faster and more powerful than the Voyager, and they would catch up eventually. We need to jump to hyperspace, Jake said. The hyperspace drive is still charging, Tony reported. We need at least 10 more minutes. Jake could sense through his connection with the ship's systems that they didn't have 10 minutes. The enemy ships would overtake them in less than 5 minutes, and then the Voyager would be destroyed. There's another way, Lyra said quietly. Jake, your connection to the ship's systems is stronger than you realize. With my help, you might be able to force the hyperspace drive to activate early. Is that safe? Amanda asked. No, Lyra admitted. If we do it wrong, we could tear the ship apart, or end up lost in hyperspace forever. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They were his friends, and he was responsible for their lives. But if they stayed here, they would all die anyway, when the Void Collective ships caught up to them. Tell me what to do, he said to Lyra. Lyra moved to stand behind Jake's chair and placed her hands on his shoulders. Close your eyes and focus on the ship's hyperspace drive. You should be able to sense its energy patterns. Jake closed his eyes and immediately felt the ship's systems flowing through his consciousness like a river of information. He could sense every component, every circuit, every power flow throughout the entire vessel. I can feel it, he said. The hyperspace drive is like a coiled spring, building up energy. Now, Lyra said, imagine yourself reaching into that spring and releasing it manually. But be careful. Too much force, and you'll overload the system. Jake reached out with his enhanced senses, touching the hyperspace drive's energy patterns. With his mind, he felt the coiled power waiting to be released, and slowly, carefully, he began to unlock it. The ship started shaking as the hyperspace drive activated ahead of schedule. Warning lights flashed on every control panel, and the sound of stressed metal echoed through the corridors. It's working! Tony shouted over the noise. The drive is coming online. Just as the Void Collective ships came within weapons range, the Voyager disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the enemy behind in normal space. Jake collapsed in his chair, exhausted from the effort of forcing the ship's systems to obey his will. But they had escaped, and they were now traveling toward Lyra's homeworld at faster-than-light speed. Captain, are you all right? Amanda asked, running her medical scanner over him. I'm fine, Jake said, though he could feel that something fundamental had changed inside him during the hyperspace activation. The blood bond with Lyra had grown stronger, and his abilities had expanded in ways he didn't fully understand yet. How long until we reach your homeworld? He asked Lyra. At this speed, about 2 days, she replied. But Jake, what you just did was incredible. You interfaced with the ship's quantum systems using only your enhanced neural pathways. Even among my people, very few can do something like that. Jake nodded, but he was worried about what these growing abilities meant for his future. Every day he became less human and more something else. He just hoped that whatever he was becoming would be enough to help save both their civilizations from the darkness that was hunting them through space. Jake stood on the bridge of the Voyager, staring through the main viewing screen at the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. Lyra's homeworld hung before them like a jewel in space, with crystal cities floating in the clouds above a purple ocean. The planet seemed to glow with its own inner light, and Jake could see ships that looked more like living creatures flying gracefully between the floating cities. "Welcome to Celesta Prime," Lyra said softly, standing beside him. "Home of the Celestial Dominion." Tony was running every sensor the ship had, trying to understand what he was seeing. "Captain, the energy readings from that planet are off the charts. Their technology is so advanced that our instruments can barely detect how it works." Lisa was equally amazed. "Those floating cities must be held up by some kind of gravity control. And look at the size of them. Each one is bigger than any city on Earth." As they approached the planet, Jake felt his enhanced senses responding to something. In the atmosphere, the very air around Celesta Prime seemed to vibrate with energy that called to the alien part of his nature. "The planet itself is alive in a way," Lyra explained, noticing Jake's reaction. "My people have spent thousands of years learning to work with the natural energy fields that flow through this world. That's part of what gives us our abilities." 3 elegant ships rose from the planet to meet them. Unlike the boxy, practical design of human vessels, these ships were smooth and curved, looking almost like they had grown rather than been built. "Princess Lyra," a voice said through the communication system, speaking in the musical language of her people. "Your father has been waiting for your return. Please follow us to the royal landing platform." As they descended toward the planet's surface, Jake got his first close look at a celestial city. The buildings were made of some kind of crystal that changed color in the light, and gardens full of alien plants grew on every level. People moved through the air without any visible means of support, simply floating from place to place as if gravity didn't affect them. "How do they fly like that?" Amanda asked. "Personal energy fields," Lyra said. "Every member of my species learns to manipulate the forces around them from childhood. It's as natural to us as walking is to humans." The Voyager landed on a platform made of the same glowing crystal as the buildings around it. As soon as the landing was complete, Jake could see a group of Celestials waiting for them. They were all tall and graceful like Lyra, with the same pale blue skin and silver hair, but they wore elaborate robes that seemed to be made of captured starlight. "That's my father," Lyra said, pointing to a tall man in the center of the group. Emperor Zephyr looked ancient and wise, with silver eyes that seemed to see everything. When he looked at Jake through the viewing screen, Jake felt like the Emperor was reading his soul. Jake, Lyra, Lisa, Tony, and Amanda left the ship and walked across the crystal platform toward the waiting Celestials. Jake was surprised to find that he could breathe the planet's atmosphere easily, and that walking felt strange, as if gravity was somehow lighter here. Emperor Zephyr stepped forward to greet them. When he spoke, his voice carried a power that made Jake's bones vibrate. "My daughter," he said, embracing Lyra, "we feared you were lost to us forever. I would have been father if not for Captain Jake Morrison and his crew," Lyra said. "They risked their lives to save me, and Jake gave his own blood to keep me alive." The Emperor turned his silver eyes to Jake, studying him with an intensity that was almost uncomfortable. "Indeed, I can see the bond between you. You have become something unprecedented, Captain Morrison. Part human, part celestial, but fully neither." Jake felt nervous standing before such a powerful being. "Your Majesty, we brought the quantum data core from your daughter's ship. The information about the Void Collective that you needed." Emperor Zephyr nodded gravely. "Yes, we have much to discuss about that threat. But first, we must address what has happened to you. The blood bond you share with my daughter is sacred among our people. It has never been formed between our species and another." The Emperor gestured, and suddenly Jake found himself surrounded by a gentle field of energy that seemed to scan every cell in his body. The sensation was strange, but not unpleasant, like being examined by warm light. "Fascinating," the Emperor said after a moment. The transformation is progressing faster than should be possible. Your human genetics are adapting to our energy, patterns in ways we have never seen before. What does that mean? Jake asked. It means you have a choice to make, Emperor Zephyr said. We can complete your transformation, making you fully celestial. You would gain all of our abilities, our long lifespan, and our connection to the energy fields that flow through the universe. You would become immortal and powerful beyond human imagination. Jake's crew looked at him with a mixture of excitement and fear. The offer was incredible, but they all understood what it would mean. If Jake became fully celestial, he could never return to being human. But there would be a cost, the Emperor continued. You would have to leave your humanity behind completely. Your body, your mind, and your soul would become celestial. You would live for thousands of years, but you would no longer be the same person you are now. Jake looked at his friends, then at Lyra, then back at the Emperor. The choice was enormous, and he knew that whatever he decided would affect not just his own life, but the lives of everyone he cared about. Can I have some time to think about it? Jake asked. Of course, the Emperor said. But first, let us deal with the more immediate threat. The data you brought us is exactly what we needed to coordinate our defense against the Void Collective. Over the next several hours, Jake found himself in a war council with the greatest military minds of the Celestial Dominion. The quantum data core from Lyra's ship had revealed the location of every Void Collective base in their region of space, as well as detailed information about their ships and tactics. Jake was amazed to discover that his enhanced abilities allowed him to understand the complex battle plans being discussed. He could see the movements of entire fleets in his mind and predict the outcomes of different strategies. The humans' worlds will be the first targets, one of the celestial generals said, pointing to a star map. The Void Collective always tests new victims with small attacks before committing their main force. Then we strike them first, Jake said, surprising everyone by speaking up. If we can coordinate a joint attack on their forward bases, we can disrupt their invasion timeline and give Earth more time to prepare. Emperor Zephyr looked impressed. An excellent strategy, Captain Morrison. Your unique perspective as both human and celestial gives you insights that neither species would have alone. As the War Council continued, Jake realized that he had already made his decision about the Emperor's offer. He didn't want to become fully celestial and lose his humanity forever, but he also couldn't abandon the fight against the Void Collective. Your Majesty, Jake said when the meeting ended, I've decided about your offer. I want to remain partially human, but I also want to help coordinate the defense of both our civilizations. The Emperor smiled. I hoped you would make that choice. You are more valuable to us as a bridge between our species than you would be as just another celestial. What does that mean for me? Jake asked. It means you will continue to gain some of our abilities, but slowly and without losing your human nature, the Emperor explained. You will live much longer than a normal human, perhaps several centuries, and you will have powers that will help you serve as an ambassador between our peoples. The Emperor gestured again, and Jake felt a warm energy flowing through his body. I am stabilizing your transformation at its current level. You will retain all the abilities you have gained, but the changes will stop here. Jake felt relief flooding through him. He would keep his enhanced senses, his ability to interface with advanced technology, and his connection with Lyra, but he would still be fundamentally human. There is one more gift I would like to give you, the Emperor said. Technology that you can take back to Earth to help your people defend themselves. Weapons, shields, and faster-than-light communication systems that will give humanity a fighting chance against the Void Collective. Jake felt overwhelmed by the generosity of the offer. Why are you giving us so much? Because you spilled your blood to save my daughter without knowing who she was or what you might gain from it, the Emperor said. That kind of selfless courage is rare in the universe, and it deserves to be rewarded. Lyra stepped forward. Father, I want to go with Jake back to Earth. My connection with him makes me the ideal person to help coordinate the defense efforts between our species. The Emperor nodded. I was hoping you would volunteer for that mission. The blood bond between you and Captain Morrison will be essential for the coming war. 3 weeks later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Voyager as it approached Earth's solar system. The ship had been upgraded with celestial technology that made it faster and more powerful than any vessel in the human fleet. Lyra stood beside him, ready to help humanity prepare for the greatest battle in its history. Jake looked at his reflection in the viewing screen and smiled. He had started this journey as a simple starship captain on a routine exploration mission,